Ambassador Zeketh stood in the center of the great council chamber, his crystal body shaking with fear. The massive room held representatives from 1,000 different worlds, all waiting to hear his report. The lights above cast strange shadows across his transparent form as he tried to find the right words. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Zeketh began, his voice cracking like breaking glass. I come before you today to warn of a terrible danger, a species so powerful that they could destroy us all without even trying. A low rumble of laughter filled the chamber. The Draknari ambassador, a large reptilian creature with sharp teeth, spoke first. Another defeated species trying to make excuses. Tell us, Zeketh, how many ships did you lose in your last battle? 100? 1,000? Zeketh's crystal form grew darker. 10,000 ships. My entire fleet, gone in less than a minute. The laughter stopped. 10,000 ships was not a small force. The Vortanian Empire had been one of the strongest military powers in the galaxy. Their ships were known for their thick armor and powerful weapons. Impossible, said Counselor Velnara, a floating jellyfish-like being from the water worlds. No species has that kind of firepower. Even the ancient weapons of the first ones could not destroy so many ships so quickly. Zeketh looked around the chamber at all the different alien faces staring at him. Some looked curious, others annoyed, but most looked like they did not believe him. They call themselves humans, he said quietly. We found them 3 cycles ago when we expanded into what we thought was empty space. At first, they seemed harmless, just another young species that had recently learned to travel between stars. The Crystal Ambassador moved to the center of the chamber where a holographic display showed a star map. With a gesture, he highlighted a small section near the edge of known space. This is where we first met them, a system with a yellow star and several planets. One of the planets was blue and green, covered in water and plants. They called it Earth. Zeketh paused, remembering. When our scouts first arrived, the humans welcomed us. They were excited to meet other intelligent life. They shared their art, their music, their history. They seemed so peaceful and friendly. What changed? Asked the hegemony representative, a tall gray being with large black eyes. We did what we always do, Zeketh replied. We claimed their worlds for the Empire. We told them they could stay, but they would need to follow our rules and pay taxes to us. We started mining operations on their colony planets. The chamber was quiet now. This was standard procedure for all the great powers. When they found a new species, they either conquered them or made them vassals. At first, the humans just asked us to stop. They were very polite about it. They said please and thank you, like they were asking for a small favor. Some of our commanders laughed at them. Zeketh's voice grew quieter. Then they asked us to leave. Not demanded, asked. They said we really should go, and that they did not want any trouble. And you refused, of course, said the Draknari ambassador. Of course. We had the strongest fleet in that sector. What could a young species do against us? So we ignored their requests and continued our operations. The crystal being moved his hands and the holographic display changed to show images of Vortanian warships, massive vessels covered in weapons and armor, each one capable of destroying a small planet. The humans tried diplomacy for weeks. They sent envoys to our fleet commander. They offered trade agreements, cultural exchanges, even tribute payments if we would just leave their worlds alone. Your commander refused? Admiral Krex thought they were weak. He said any species that begged instead of fighting deserved to be conquered. He ordered the full invasion to begin. Zeketh stopped talking for a moment. The memory was clearly painful for him. What happened next? Prompted Counselor Velnara. The humans sent one final message. It was from someone who called himself Secretary of Defense Johnson. He spoke very calmly, like he was discussing the weather. He said they were sorry it had come to this, but we had been warned. He said they would try to make it quick and painless. The chamber was completely silent now. Even the usual background noise of translators and breathing had stopped. We laughed, Zeketh continued. Admiral Krex called it the funniest joke he had ever heard. One old human threatening our entire fleet. The Admiral ordered all ships to prepare for orbital bombardment. And then, Zeketh's crystal body flickered like a broken light. Then our ships started disappearing. Not exploding. Not being destroyed, just gone. One moment they were there on our sensors, the next moment empty space. Engine failures? Retreat? No retreat. No explosion. No wreckage. No energy readings. The ships simply stopped existing. In 60 seconds, 10,000 warships vanished as if they had never been built. The ambassador gestured again, and the display showed empty space where the fleet had been. "What about the crews?" asked someone from the back of the chamber. "That was the strangest part," Zekth replied. "A few hours later, we received a transmission from the human planet. It showed all our crews, over 3 million Vortanians, sitting in what looked like a large cafeteria. They were eating food and talking to humans who were asking if they needed anything. Prisoners. The humans called them guests. They said they were sorry about destroying the ships, but the crews seemed like nice people who were just following orders. They asked if we wanted them back." The Draknari ambassador leaned forward. "And you believe this story?" "I was there," Zekth said firmly. "I commanded one of the ships that disappeared. One moment I was on my bridge giving orders, the next moment I was sitting at a table eating something called pizza, while a human child asked me about my home planet." "How did you escape?" "We did not escape. 3 days later, the humans politely asked if we would like to go home. When we said yes, they transported us to the edge of their space. Our ships were gone, but they gave us a small vessel to return to Vortanian territory." Zekth moved to face the entire council. "Before we left, the human leader, President Martinez, spoke to me personally. She said they were sorry about the misunderstanding. She hoped there were no hard feelings. Then she said something I will never forget." "What did she say?" "She said the galaxy was big enough for everyone to live in peace. But if anyone else tried to hurt innocent people in human space, the humans would have to take stronger action. She said they really did not want to do that." The Crystal Ambassador's voice dropped to almost a whisper. When I asked what stronger action meant, she looked sad. She said the humans tried very hard to make sure the universe stayed stable and safe for everyone. If they had to stop being careful, bad things might happen to reality itself. The chamber erupted in noise as representatives began talking all at once. Some shouted that the story was impossible. Others demanded proof. A few looked worried. Zeketh raised his hands for silence. "I submit this formal warning to the Galactic Council. Terran space should be marked as absolutely forbidden to all military vessels. These humans are not like other species. They are something else entirely. Even if your story is true," said the hegemony representative, "they are still just one small species. How dangerous could they really be?" Zekth's crystal form grew completely dark. "I pray to my ancestors that we never find out." Fleet Admiral Corvus stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking out at the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. 50,000 warships stretched out in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming under the light of distant stars. Each ship was a masterpiece of hegemony engineering, armed with weapons that could crack planets and shielded with energy barriers that had never been broken. "Sir, we are approaching the border of human space," reported his tactical officer, a young hegemony soldier with the typical gray skin and large black eyes of his species. "Excellent," Corvus replied, his thin lips forming what might have been a smile. "It is time these humans learned their place in the galaxy." The Admiral had read Ambassador Zekth's report to the Council, of course. He had also read the official response, which dismissed the Vortanian story as the desperate lies of a defeated enemy. The Council's military experts had concluded that no species could possibly have the power Zekth described. The crystal being had probably lost his fleet to some natural disaster and made up the human story to avoid disgrace. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from a human vessel," the communications officer announced. Corvus frowned. According to his sensors, there were no human ships in the area. "Show me." The main screen flickered and displayed what looked like a small shuttle, barely large enough for a few people. It was moving toward his massive fleet without any visible concern for the overwhelming firepower pointed at it. "This is Captain Sarah, Chen of the Earth vessel." "Peaceful morning," came a friendly female voice over the communication system. "Welcome to the Sol system. I hope your journey was comfortable." The Admiral stared at the screen in disbelief. The human was speaking to his invasion fleet as if they were tourists arriving for a vacation. "I am Fleet Admiral Corvus of the Hegemony Armada," he replied sternly. "You will surrender immediately and prepare to be boarded." "Oh my." Captain Chen's voice sounded genuinely surprised. "I think there might be some confusion here. You seem to have brought quite a few ships into our space without permission. That's usually not allowed, you know." Corvus felt his anger rising. How dare this insignificant human speak to him so casually? "We are here to establish hegemony authority over this sector. Your species will submit to our rule or face the consequences." There was a pause. Then Captain Chen's voice came back, still friendly, but with a slight edge to it. Admiral, I'm afraid that's not going to work out. You see, humans have this thing about people trying to conquer us. We really don't like it. You are one small ship facing 50,000 warships, Corvus snapped. What exactly do you think you can do to stop us? Well, the human replied, and now she sounded a bit sad. We could ask you nicely to leave. Would that work? Laughter erupted across the bridge. Even Corvus found himself chuckling at the absurdity of it. One human in a tiny ship asking a massive invasion fleet to please go away. I am afraid not, Captain Chen. Prepare to be destroyed. Are you sure? We really don't want to have to do anything drastic here. My orders are to give you every possible chance to reconsider. Your orders? Corvus was enjoying this conversation now. From whom? From President Martinez, Admiral Johnson, and the Committee for Galactic Peace. They all agree that violence should be the very last option. So I'm asking one more time, very politely, if you would please take your fleet and go home. Corvus turned to his weapons officer. Target that shuttle. Prepare to fire. Admiral, Captain Chen's voice came through the speakers one final time. I want you to know that we genuinely tried to avoid this. What happens next is not something we wanted to do. Fire, Corvus ordered. Nothing happened. Sir, weapons are not responding, the weapons officer reported, confusion clear in his voice. What do you mean not responding? I mean the controls are not working, sir. The weapons system show is online, but when I press the firing controls, nothing happens. Corvus felt the first stirring of unease. Engineering, report on weapons status. All systems show green, Admiral. Everything should be working perfectly. Sir, the tactical officer interrupted. I'm reading power fluctuations throughout the fleet. On the main screen, Captain Chen's face appeared. She was a middle-aged human woman with kind eyes and graying hair. She looked genuinely apologetic. Admiral Corvus, I am truly sorry about this. We tried diplomacy first, just like our protocols require. But you insisted on trying to hurt people, and we can't allow that. What are you doing to our ships? Corvus demanded. We're not doing anything violent, Chen replied. We're just asking your technology to stop working for a while. Think of it as a very gentle timeout. Alarms began sounding throughout the flagship. The lights flickered, then went out completely. Emergency power kicked in a moment later, but it was dim and weak. Sir, we're losing main power, the engineering officer called out over the noise. Life support is failing on decks 7 through 12. Navigation is offline. Weapon systems are completely dead. Corvus looked around his bridge in growing panic. This was impossible. The hegemony built the most reliable technology in the galaxy. Their ships were designed to function even after taking massive damage. How are you doing this? He asked the human captain. Oh, we're not really doing anything, Chen replied cheerfully. We just asked your ship's computers very nicely if they could please stop working for a little while. Most technology is actually quite cooperative when you know how to ask properly. That makes no sense. I know it sounds strange. Humans have a gift for talking to things that other species consider non-living. We've found that most machines are actually quite friendly once you get to know them. The main screen flickered and went dark. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows across the bridge as more systems failed throughout the ship. Sir, the communications officer managed to report before his console died. The same thing is happening to the entire fleet. All 50,000 ships are losing power simultaneously. Corvus felt true fear for the first time in his military career. This was beyond anything he had ever imagined possible. No species could disable an entire fleet without firing a single shot. Captain Chen's voice came through the few speakers that still worked. Admiral, I know this is frightening, but please don't panic. We're going to take very good care of your crews while we figure out what to do with all these ships. You're taking us prisoner? Oh no, nothing like that. We're going to relocate everyone to a nice planet nearby, where you'll be comfortable while we send your ships back to hegemony space. Think of it as an unplanned vacation. This is impossible, Corvus whispered. I know it seems that way, Chen's gentle voice replied. But humans learned a long time ago that reality is much more flexible than most people think. We just have to be very careful about how we use that knowledge. The Admiral felt a strange tingling sensation, like electricity running through his body. The feeling grew stronger, and suddenly he was no longer on his bridge. Instead, he found himself standing on green grass under a blue sky. Around him, confused hegemony soldiers were appearing out of thin air, all looking as bewildered as he felt. In the distance, he could see humans setting up what looked like a large outdoor dining area. A young human man approached him with a friendly smile. "Admiral Corvus? I'm Lieutenant Wilson. Welcome to Haven Colony. We've prepared lunch for everyone, and there are recreational activities available this afternoon. Is there anything specific you or your crew might need?" Corvus stared at the human in shock. "Where are my ships?" "Oh, those are being sent home right now. Empty, of course, since all your people are here with us." President Martinez wanted to include a note explaining that this was all just a big misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Well, you seem to think you could conquer us, which suggests someone gave you very bad information about what humans are capable of. No hard feelings, though. These things happen. The Admiral looked around at his massive army, now sitting on blankets and eating sandwiches prepared by their former enemies. Some of his soldiers were actually laughing at jokes told by human children. "How long will you keep us here?" he asked weakly. Lieutenant Wilson checked his watch. "Oh, not long at all. There's a transport arriving this evening to take everyone home. We just need a few hours to make sure your ships get back safely. And then you're free to go. Though I hope you'll mention to your government that invading human space really isn't a good idea. We tried to warn you, but some people need to learn things the hard way." Corvus sank down onto the grass, his mind struggling to process what had happened. 50,000 warships, the pride of the hegemony military, defeated without a single shot being fired. "What are you people?" he asked. Lieutenant Wilson sat down beside him, offering a cup of what smelled like coffee. "We're just humans, Admiral. We try to be good neighbors, but we don't like bullies very much." In the distance, Corvus could see his ships appearing in the sky, already beginning their journey back to hegemony space, empty shells that would arrive with nothing but a polite note and the memory of impossible defeat. Dr. Veltar floated in her containment suit as her ship approached Earth, her tentacles nervously adjusting the controls. As the Council's top xenobiologist and military analyst, she had studied hundreds of alien species, but nothing had prepared her for this assignment. The reports from Admiral Corvus had shaken the entire Galactic Council. 50,000 ships disabled without firing a shot. An entire invasion force relocated in minutes. Technology that simply stopped working because humans asked it to. The Council needed answers, and they needed them fast. "This is Dr. Veltar of the research vessel Deep Current, requesting permission to enter Terran space," she transmitted as her ship reached the edge of human territory. The response came immediately, in cheerful, accented English. "Dr. Veltar, welcome. This is Commander Lopez at Luna Station. We've been expecting you. President Martinez is very excited to meet you." "You've been expecting me?" "Oh yes, we heard from the Council about your research mission. We think it's wonderful. It's about time someone took a scientific approach to understanding us. We've prepared full access to our facilities and research data." Veltar paused, surprised. Most species guarded their military secrets carefully, especially after recent conflicts. "You're willing to share classified information?" "Well, we don't really have anything classified when it comes to how we do things. It's not like it's a secret or anything. We just do what comes naturally." As her ship was guided toward Earth, Veltar marveled at what she saw. Human space was full of impossible things. Ships that moved without visible engines. Structures that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Space stations that appeared to be grown rather than built. "Commander Lopez, how do your ships achieve faster-than-light travel?" she asked. "Oh, that's easy. We just convince space that we're already where we want to be. Space is usually pretty reasonable about it as long as you ask nicely." "You convince space?" "Sure. Everything has a kind of consciousness if you know how to listen. Space, time, matter, energy. They're all willing to cooperate if you approach them right." Veltar's scientific mind reeled. This contradicted everything known about physics. "That's impossible. Space-time is not conscious." "Well, maybe not conscious the way we are, but it definitely has preferences. For example, space really likes straight lines and gets cranky when you try to fold it too much. We've learned to work with its natural tendencies instead of fighting them." When Veltar's ship docked at Luna Station, she was greeted by a group of humans who seemed genuinely delighted to meet her. They showed her around their facilities with the enthusiasm of children showing off their favorite toys. "This is our primary research lab," explained Dr. Janet Kim, a physicist who looked no older than a human child, but spoke with the authority of someone who had revolutionized science. "Would you like to see how we grow starships?" "Grow them? Oh yes, it's much easier than building them. We just plant a seed and encourage it to become what we need. Dr. Kim led Veltar to what looked like a garden. In the soil, metallic seedlings were sprouting into recognizable ship components. Hull plating grew like leaves while navigation systems developed like flowers. How is this possible? Veltar whispered. Well, matter wants to be useful, Dr. Kim explained patiently. We just help it figure out what form would be most helpful. The materials are usually happy to reorganize themselves once they understand what we need. You're talking to matter itself? More like having a conversation with the underlying patterns that make matter work. Once you understand that everything is connected at a quantum level, you can suggest changes and most things are willing to try them. Veltar spent weeks studying human technology, and each day brought new impossibilities. She watched human children casually manipulating gravity while playing games. She observed teenagers who could phase through solid walls by asking the molecules to step aside for a moment. She witnessed engineers who fixed broken machinery by having heart-to-heart conversations with the equipment. This violates every known law of physics, she told Dr. Kim during one of their many discussions. Does it? Or does it just show that the laws of physics are more like suggestions? We've found that reality is much more flexible than most species assume. But how do humans do this when no other species can? Dr. Kim looked thoughtful. We're not sure, actually. We always assumed everyone could do what we do. When we first met other species, we thought they were just being polite by pretending they couldn't manipulate reality directly. You thought other species were pretending? It seemed like the kind of thing people might do to be modest. Like when someone says they can't sing when they actually have a beautiful voice. Veltar was beginning to understand the true scope of human abilities, and it terrified her. These beings didn't just bend the rules of physics. They seemed to exist outside those rules entirely. Dr. Kim, what would happen if humans stopped being careful about how they use these abilities? The human scientist's expression grew serious. That's actually something we worry about a lot. Human consciousness seems to be connected to the fundamental forces that keep reality stable. If we ever stop paying attention to maintaining that stability, what would happen? We're not sure, and we really don't want to find out. Our best guess is that large portions of the universe might simply stop existing in any recognizable form. Veltar felt a chill run through her aquatic body. You mean humans are actively maintaining the universe? More like we're helping it maintain itself. Think of it like being a gardener. The garden will grow on its own, but it grows better with someone paying attention to it and taking care of problems before they get too big. And if something happened to humanity? Dr. Kim shrugged. Probably nothing good. That's why we try so hard to avoid conflicts. It's not just about protecting ourselves. We have a responsibility to keep everything working properly. On her final day at Luna Station, Veltar was taken to meet President Martinez, a surprisingly ordinary-looking woman who greeted her in a simple office with windows overlooking Earth. Dr. Veltar, I hope our people have been helpful with your research, the president said warmly. Very helpful, though I must admit I'm more confused than when I arrived. That's understandable. We're still learning about ourselves, too. It's only been about 50 years since we realized other species couldn't do what we do naturally. President Martinez, I have to ask, why are you sharing all this information so freely? Aren't you concerned about how other species might use this knowledge? The human leader smiled sadly. Doctor, after seeing what happened with the Vortanians and the hegemony, we realized that secrecy was actually more dangerous than openness. When people don't understand what they're dealing with, they make bad decisions, such as thinking they can conquer us through superior firepower. We'd much rather have the galaxy understand what humans are capable of, so they can make informed choices about how to interact with us. And what are humans capable of? President Martinez looked out the window at the blue and green planet below. Honestly, we're not sure there are any limits. We can reshape matter, manipulate energy, travel through space and time, even communicate with the basic forces of reality itself. The scary thing is we're still discovering new abilities all the time. That must be overwhelming. It's terrifying, Martinez admitted. Do you know what the most frightening thought in the universe is, Doctor? What? The possibility that humans might be the universe's way of taking care of itself. That everything depends on us staying sane, staying kind, and staying very, very careful about what we do with our abilities. Veltar floated silently for a moment, processing this revelation. What do you want from the galaxy, President Martinez? just to be left alone to do our job. We don't want to rule anyone or conquer anything. We just want to tend our garden and make sure everything keeps working the way it should. And if someone threatens that, the president's expression grew distant. Then we'd have to choose between protecting ourselves and protecting the universe. And honestly, Doctor, I'm not sure which choice would be worse. As Veltar prepared to leave Earth, she carried with her a terrible understanding. Humanity wasn't just another species. They were something beyond conventional biology, beyond normal evolution. They were cosmic gardeners, actively maintaining the universe's stability through sheer force of will and consciousness. The galaxies continued. Existence depended entirely on humanity's continued benevolence, and that was the most terrifying thought of all. Supreme War Chief Dracnos slammed his clawed fist on the command table, sending holographic displays flickering. His yellow eyes burned with rage as he stared at the reports from the failed hegemony invasion. Cowards, he snarled at his assembled generals. The hegemony let themselves be defeated by parlor tricks and fear tactics. The humans are nothing but clever illusionists who have fooled the entire galaxy. General Vextar, his second-in-command, shifted nervously. War Chief, the reports suggest their abilities are real. Perhaps we should reconsider. Silence, Dracnos roared. The Draknari Confederation has never retreated from any enemy. We will not start now because of ghost stories and propaganda. The War Chief activated the fleet display, showing nearly 100,000 warships positioned at the edge of human space. Unlike the hegemony's technological approach or the Vortanians' brute force tactics, the Draknari had developed a different strategy. We will strike at the heart of their power, Dracnos declared. While they're distracted dealing with our main fleet, elite strike teams will capture their homeworld. Once we control Earth and its population, these so-called reality manipulators will have to surrender or watch their own species burn. The plan was elegant in its ruthlessness. Simultaneous attacks on 17 human colonies would draw their attention and forces away from Earth. Then, using experimental stealth technology stolen from a dozen conquered worlds, assault ships would strike the human homeworld directly. War Chief interrupted Communications Officer Lixana. We're receiving a transmission from the Human Border Patrol. Let them speak, Dracnos growled. I want to hear them beg. The main screen activated, showing a cheerful young human male wearing what appeared to be a casual uniform. Behind him, stars moved slowly past a viewport. Greetings, Draknari Fleet. This is Lieutenant Commander Jake Wilson aboard the patrol ship Friendly Reminder. Beautiful day for a space journey, isn't it? The casual tone made Dracnos even angrier. Human, I am Supreme War Chief Dracnos of the Draknari Confederation. You will surrender immediately or face total annihilation. Oh wow, that's quite an impressive title, Jake replied with genuine interest. Supreme War Chief sounds very important. I bet you worked hard to earn that position. Mock me at your peril, human. We have learned from the failures of others. This time there will be no mercy. Jake's expression grew concerned. I'm sorry to hear that, War Chief. We were really hoping this could be resolved peacefully. May I ask what exactly we've done to upset your people? You exist, Dracnos snarled. Your species is an affront to the natural order. The strong should rule the weak, yet somehow you have made the entire galaxy fear you through trickery and deception. I don't think we've been trying to trick anyone, Jake said thoughtfully. We've been pretty open about what we can do. In fact, we've gone out of our way to demonstrate our capabilities so people would understand the situation clearly. Lies and illusions. No species can do what you claim to do. Jake sighed sadly. War Chief, I really wish you would reconsider this course of action. Attacking Earth specifically would be, well, it would force us to respond in ways we'd rather avoid. I care nothing for your threats, human. Oh, it's not a threat, Jake replied gently. It's more like a warning about natural consequences. Like warning someone not to stick their hand in a fire because they'll get burned. Dracnos cut the transmission and turned to his fleet commanders. All ships, begin the attack. Target the human colonies first, then proceed to Earth as planned. The massive Draknari fleet moved forward, their advanced stealth ships already heading toward the human homeworld. For several hours, everything proceeded according to plan. Human colonies sent distress signals. Human ships moved to intercept the attacking forces. Then the stealth fleet reached Earth's solar system. War Chief, called sensor operator Kexana, confusion clear in her voice. I'm not reading Earth on any of our instruments. What do you mean you're not reading it? I mean it's not there, sir. According to our sensors, there's empty space where the planet should be. Dracnos stormed over to the sensor station. The displays clearly showed the Sol system, a yellow star, several planets, asteroid belts, and various space stations. But where Earth should have been, according to all their intelligence data, there was nothing but empty vacuum. Sensor malfunction, he declared. Earth must be there. Sir, all our ships are reporting the same readings. There's no planet in Earth's orbital position. Before Dracnos could respond, a new transmission came through. The screen showed an elderly human male sitting in what appeared to be a comfortable living room. Behind him, they could see bookshelves, houseplants, and a window showing a peaceful countryside. "Hello there," the old man said with a warm smile. "I'm George Henderson. I apologize for any confusion, but I'm afraid Earth isn't available for visitors right now." "Where is your planet?" Dracnos demanded. "Oh, it's perfectly safe," George replied cheerfully. "We moved it somewhere more comfortable while we deal with this unpleasantness. Terrible thing, war, so wasteful and unnecessary. You moved an entire planet? Well, the whole solar system, actually. Seemed easier than just moving Earth and leaving everything else behind. The gravitational relationships are quite delicate. You know," General Vextar leaned over to whisper urgently. "War Chief, if they can relocate their entire star system, what else might they be capable of?" Dracnos ignored him. "Return our planet immediately, or we will destroy every human colony in the galaxy." George's expression grew sad. "Oh dear, I really wish you hadn't said that. You see, threatening innocent people is exactly the sort of thing that makes us have to take more direct action." "What direct action? Your world is hidden. Your colonies are under attack. You have no power here." "Well," George said gently, "that's not quite accurate." Suddenly, Dracnos found himself sitting in an overstuffed armchair. Around him, his entire command staff was also seated in comfortable furniture. The familiar bridge of his flagship had been replaced by what appeared to be a cozy living room, with a fireplace crackling warmly in the corner. "What is this?" he roared, trying to stand. The chair held him firmly but gently in place. "This is my living room," George explained, now sitting across from them with a tea service on a small table. "I thought we should have a proper conversation about why you decided attacking peaceful people was a good idea. Where is my fleet?" "Oh, they're all here too. Every ship, every crew member. All quite safe and comfortable, I assure you. My wife is organizing refreshments for everyone." Through the window, Dracnos could see his massive fleet parked on what appeared to be an endless green lawn. His warships sitting peacefully next to picnic tables where his crews were being served snacks by elderly human volunteers. "This is impossible," General Vexistar whispered. "Not impossible," George corrected kindly. "Just very complicated. You see, when you threaten to hurt innocent people, especially children, humans tend to get quite protective. We can't allow that sort of behavior. You cannot hold us here forever. Oh, we don't intend to. But first, we need to have a discussion about proper behavior and making good choices." George poured tea into delicate cups. "Now then, War Chief, would you like to explain why you thought conquering other people was appropriate?" "The strong rule the weak. It is the way of the universe." "Is it?" George asked mildly. "Because from where I sit, it looks like kindness and cooperation work much better than violence and conquest. Would you like some sugar with your tea?" For the next several hours, George Henderson engaged the Dracnari leadership in what could only be described as the galaxy's most polite interrogation. He asked thoughtful questions about their society, their motivations, and their assumptions about how the universe worked. Throughout it all, he served tea, offered cookies, and treated his captives with the kind of gentle courtesy usually reserved for confused children. "I think the problem," George finally concluded, "is that your people have been taught to see the universe as a hostile place where only the strong survive." "But that's not really true, is it? The universe is quite friendly when you treat it nicely." "You speak nonsense, old man." "Do I? Tell me, War Chief, in your conquest of other worlds, did you ever stop to consider that those people had families, dreams, and hopes, just like your own people do?" The question hung in the air. Dracnos found himself thinking about things he had never considered before. "War," George continued softly, "is what happens when people forget that everyone else is just as real and important as they are. But it's never too late to remember." When the conversation finally ended, the Dracnari found themselves back on their ships, but not in space. Instead, they were on the surface of a pleasant world with blue skies and gentle breezes. "This is your new home," George's voice came over their communication systems. "Your old worlds are still there, of course, but we thought you might benefit from some time to think about things in a more peaceful environment." "You're imprisoning us?" "Not at all. You're free to leave any time you genuinely want to live peacefully with your neighbors. Until then, this is a nice place to learn about cooperation instead of conquest." As the Draknari realized their situation, many of them began to understand that they had encountered something far beyond their comprehension. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been running for 3 days straight. Representatives from across the galaxy sat in stunned silence as report after report confirmed the same impossible truth. Humanity was not just another species. They were something else entirely. Counselor Velnara floated in her containment tank, her jellyfish-like form pulsing with nervous energy. "The evidence is overwhelming," she announced to the assembled delegates. "We are not dealing with conventional beings who happen to have advanced technology. These humans exist outside the normal rules of reality itself." The chamber erupted in nervous chatter as species after species shared their encounters with humanity. The Zentari described trade negotiations where humans had casually created new elements during lunch breaks. The Morphids told of diplomatic meetings where human children had restructured local space-time to make the conference room more comfortable. The Kelvins reported that humans had solved their centuries-old energy crisis by asking the stars to share more efficiently. Ambassador Zekth, now bearing the official title of Human Relations Specialist, stood at the center of the chamber. His crystal form had taken on a permanent dim glow since his experiences with humanity, a mark of the profound changes in his understanding of the universe. "Honored delegates," he began, his voice carrying the weight of terrible knowledge, "we must face the truth that many of us have been trying to deny. Humanity is not simply another member species of our galactic community. They are its caretakers." "Preposterous," shouted Delegate Rexmore from the Warrior Worlds. "No species can claim dominion over the entire galaxy." "They are not claiming dominion," Zeketh replied patiently. "They are exercising stewardship. Dr. Veltar's research has confirmed what we should have realized long ago. Human consciousness is directly connected to the fundamental forces that maintain universal stability." Dr. Veltar's report had shaken the Council to its core. Her detailed analysis showed that humans didn't just manipulate matter and energy. They were actively preventing the universe from collapsing into chaos. Every human mind was unconsciously contributing to a vast network that kept reality functioning in a stable, predictable manner. "The implications are staggering," Dr. Veltar had concluded in her report. "Remove humanity from the universe and everything else would likely cease to exist within minutes. They are not just gardeners tending reality, they are the foundation upon which reality rests." Counselor Telvanus from the ancient archives spoke up, his voice heavy with the weight of millennia. "Our oldest records speak of the predecessors, beings who shaped the early universe and then vanished. We always assumed they had died out or transcended to another plane of existence." "What are you suggesting?" asked Velnara. "I am suggesting that humanity are their descendants. Not biologically, perhaps, but in terms of cosmic responsibility. The predecessors didn't vanish, they evolved into something that could blend seamlessly with conventional life while continuing their work of maintaining universal stability." The revelation sent shockwaves through the assembly. If humanity were the inheritors of the predecessors' role, then they were quite literally the most important species in existence. "This explains their behavioral patterns," observed Dr. Kixnall, the Council's chief psychological analyst. "Humans consistently choose peaceful solutions not because they are weak, but because they understand the consequences of large-scale destruction. They avoid conflict because they know that reality itself might be damaged if they ever lost control of their abilities." Representative Morgax from the Industrial Coalition raised a practical concern. "If humans are so powerful, why do they allow other species to exist independently? Why not simply rule over us directly?" Zeketh's crystal form flickered with what might have been amusement. "Because they genuinely do not want to rule anyone. Human psychology appears to be fundamentally incompatible with the desire for dominion over others. They seem to find more satisfaction in helping other species develop their own potential. And when we threaten them, they defend themselves with the minimum force necessary to stop the threat while causing the least possible harm." Even when dealing with the most aggressive species, humans consistently try to educate rather than eliminate. The discussion turned to the practical implications of this knowledge. How should the galaxy relate to a species that could reshape reality at will, but chose to use that power to maintain peace and stability? "We propose new protocols," announced Chief Administrator Yexitara. "First, Terran space is to be considered absolutely inviolate. No military vessels, no territorial claims, no aggressive actions of any kind." "What about trade and diplomacy?" asked someone from the back. "Purely voluntary on humanity's part. We invite them to participate in galactic affairs, but we make no demands. They are free to engage or withdraw as they see fit." Delegate Rexmore stood up angrily. "You're asking us to treat these humans like gods." "We're asking you to treat them like what they are," Zekth replied firmly. "Beings who could end all of our existences without effort, but who choose instead to protect and nurture us. The fact that we continue to exist proves their benevolence." The final piece of the puzzle came from an unexpected source. A young intern from the research division had been analyzing communication patterns between human settlements and had discovered something remarkable. "Honored delegates," the intern announced nervously, "I believe I know why humans are so committed to peace. They're not just connected to each other and to reality itself. They're connected to all of us." The chamber fell silent. "My analysis suggests that human consciousness extends beyond their own species. When they look at other beings, they literally experience a form of empathy that makes them feel our pain, our fear, our hopes. Harming other species causes humans genuine psychological distress because they share our experiences on a fundamental level." This revelation reframed everything. Humans weren't just protecting other species out of abstract moral principles. They were protecting themselves by protecting others. Their pacifism wasn't weakness. It was psychological necessity. "This is why they try so hard to resolve conflicts peacefully," Dr. Veltar added. "Violence against any conscious being causes them actual pain. They experience war and suffering as direct personal trauma." The vote on the new protocols was unanimous. Terran space would be marked as off-limits to all military activity. Human settlements would receive special protected status. Most importantly, the galaxy would formally acknowledge humanity's role as cosmic guardians. But the final words of the session came from Zeketh, speaking not as an ambassador, but as someone who had witnessed humanity's true nature firsthand. "Let us never forget the lesson we have learned here," he said quietly. "Power without wisdom leads to destruction. Wisdom without compassion leads to tyranny. But wisdom and compassion combined with unlimited power leads to something we had never imagined possible. Beings who use their strength to serve rather than rule. We have spent millennia fighting over resources, territories, and dominance. We assumed that conflict was inevitable, that the strong naturally preyed upon the weak. But humans have shown us another way. They have shown us that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the choice to create and protect. The galaxy is a garden, and humanity are its gardeners. Our survival depends not on our military might or technological advancement, but on our wisdom in recognizing the hands that tend the cosmic soil in which we grow." As the session ended, delegates filed out with a new understanding of their place in the universe. They were not the masters of their own destiny. They were the beneficiaries of a cosmic protection they had never even known existed. And somewhere on Earth, a human child sat in a playground, casually holding a conversation with the fundamental forces of reality itself, asking them politely to keep everything working properly for another day. The universe smiled and agreed, as it always did when humans asked nicely. The child went back to playing, unaware that the fate of trillions of beings rested on the simple act of a young human maintaining the delicate balance that kept existence itself from unraveling. In the end, the greatest power in the galaxy was not the ability to conquer or destroy, but the wisdom to know when not to use one's strength, and the compassion to use it only in service of others. The Galactic Council had been warned, and finally they understood.